You're not gonna like this, but legal slavery in America, it wasn't overthrown by this unified nationwide revolt of 4 million enslaved Black people. Like that didn't happen, right? I don't know if you knew. I don't see how you could know because I kind of had it up the whole film. I'm working on a documentary called Slavery is a Choice. And the reason why this film is so important is because out of 4 million enslaved people, this is hard to hear, but only those who are spiritually mature and emotionally resilient will get it and meditate on it. Out of 4 million people who were enslaved, you had few, in comparison to the 4 million, you had few resisted. You had some who escaped. You did have some who fought. You had some who served in the Union Army. You had those who took some extraordinary risk, also that they could secure freedom for themselves and others, such as your Harriet Tubman and all those that she ushered to freedom by way of the Underground Railroad. So this is why I can confidently say that slavery is a choice, because I just rattled off the list of people who chose freedom over the bonds of slavery. But in light of all of that, you need to understand and realize, settle with, forgive, cry, moan, rock in the corner, do whatever you got to do. There was no mass uprising that destroyed American slavery from within. That did not happen. This nation, on the other hand, ultimately fought itself a bloody civil war. We had constitutional amendments that were adopted. And the legal institution of slavery was destroyed through military and governmental power. That deliverance came at an enormous cost. The bloodshed of Black men and white men is invaluable. This is why I get angry when I see Black people begging for reparations. I said, you don't know how much it costs and how much was paid. No, you didn't get a check in your bank account because you're not worthy to receive a check. It's stolen valor. You did nothing for the American inheritance and the American birthright that you squander every single day with your whining and your crying and your begging. And yet, more than a century and a half later, there remain Black folks alive today who seem super emotionally attached to the identity of the slave, then committed to the responsibilities of a free citizen. This is why I say slavery is a choice. Too many are choosing it today because they chose it back then. I know it's an uncomfortable truth. It hurts your feelings because I'm removing the scab. I'm removing all the excuses where you say it wasn't my fault. I couldn't help it. They was going to kill us. They threatened to do this. Nah. Legal freedom cannot liberate a person. And if you're determined to remain psychologically captive and enamored to that slave mentality, it doesn't care how many emancipation proclamations are given. It doesn't care how many reparations are paid. You can't present enough opportunities to help someone that is trained to interpret free agency as betrayal. Truth is not going to reach a person who prefers if you prefer the comfort of grievance, you'll never be satisfied. God can provide everything for you, no matter how many miracles you see, no matter how many miracles he performs. You'll never satisfy a person that is still fantasizing about Egypt's daggone cucumbers, melons, garlic, and onions. It's that simple. At some point, I know this message is hard and it is spicy and it is sharp. And you call me all kind of names. You Uncle Tom, you a bedwench. Listen, your names and accusations have no power here. You need to deal with the fact that at some point, adults have to become responsible for what they choose to believe. I'm not going to infantilize grown black men and women. I'm not going to do it. They are not children. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they have no agency. I am not going to blame every destructive political decision on wasn't they fault because they had been deceived or the system because the system. I'm not doing that. Yes, people can be deceived and still be responsible for refusing correction. Yes, people can be manipulated and they're still responsible for surrendering their discernment. God is sovereign in all of this, but man is still responsible. Those two work hand in hand, and our 3-pound brains can't even imagine how those two work in perfect synergy. I know people can inherit a false narrative, but they're still responsible for clinging to that same false narrative after truth has been presented. The people in this room, they are not children. They are adults. And most of them have lived long enough to witness enormous social and political change. I told y'all they have access to the same information in the internet just like the rest of us. They could listen to the actual findings. They could ask whether or not the presentation matched the evidence, but instead, many of them appeared super ready to follow a familiar emotional script. Do not tell me that slavery is not a choice. They are making their choice. They are doing what 2 Timothy says, for a time will come when people are not going to endure sound teaching, but have itching ears, right? They're going to accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions. And what ends up happening, they turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into silly myths. Behold the wandering. Behold the wandering. They've accumulated teachers to suit their passions. You get the leaders you deserve. They chose leaders who confirm what they already believe because of the hatred and unforgiveness in their hearts. And when victimhood becomes the core of your identity and the grievance merchants are super close by, the grievance merchant becomes your preferred teacher and you'll sit under his tutelage. That's why Ben Crump is useful. There is a big difference between truth and propaganda. Big difference. But you got to be people of the truth. You got to be people of the light. You got to want the truth. If these people were really advocating responsibly for truth, they'd be like, listen, we don't even know how Nolan Wells died. The independent autopsy is inconclusive. We're simply requesting the official report, the toxicology results, all of the retained specimens, the photographs, the investigative records, and then we're going to follow the evidence wherever it leads. And we ask that you keep this family in your prayers. That would have been responsible. That would have been something that would honor Nolan Wells. But responsible advocacy, it doesn't produce the same emotional spectacle, right? We don't know yet. It doesn't make a room erupt in applause and chants, right? And you don't get the racial martyr that you're looking for, right? The temperature of the room is not elevated. People are not on edge. They ain't sweating. You can't mobilize voters off a speech like that. The news anchors and the news and the TV stations, you don't get the same TV appearances when you're operating above board in truth. So you need the uncertainty. You need uncertainty seasoned with enough suspicion. Where ordinary forensic procedures got to be described as his missing body parts, right? And an unexplained discoloration on the back of the head, it's significant because it's significant before the scientific significance can be established. You just need to know it's significant, right? Preliminary report. It must be presented as though it has shattered the official narrative, even though nobody has seen, nor has the official report been released. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe this is a search for truth. These people are constructing a narrative versus having a maritime discussion. Like this is a maritime discussion where a young man may have drowned and we're just trying to put the pieces together and figure out what happened.